All right, good morning, folks. Welcome to our 23rd episode of Compass Coffee Talk with my co-host, Bill Capsalis, Executive Director of Naturally Boulder, a longtime veteran in the natural products industry in marketing and communications, brand marketing. Yours truly, I'm Stephen Hoffman with Compass Natural. We are the hosts of Compass Coffee Talk, and again, very excited to present and have as a special guest Maria Rodale, who herself is third generation of leadership at the iconic Rodale Press. And also she spent really a lifetime helping lead the Rodale Institute, which is one of the world's leading research institutes for organic agriculture. Her grandfather, J.I. Rodale, founded Organic Gardening magazine and helped coin the term organic that we use today in terms of organic farming and gardening and organic agriculture. Her father, Robert Rodale, actually coined the term regenerative agriculture, realizing that we can also sequester carbon in building healthy organic soils, keep it out of the oceans, keep it out of the atmosphere, where that carbon actually can be destructive in terms of heating the planet, acidifying the oceans, and put it where it belongs, and that's back in the ground. And it's a virtuous system because it also creates healthy living soils from which we can grow regenerative organic foods. So we're very, very honored and grateful to host Maria today. And in her own right, again, she served as chair of Rodale Inc., publisher of Prevention Magazine, Organic Gardening Magazine, Men's Health, Women's Health, Runner's World, so many titles that I know I've read and influenced me and many, many people interested in healthy lifestyles over the years. She's also the former co-chair of the Rodale Institute. So there's a lot to talk about here in terms of a legacy, history, and the future of organic and regenerative agriculture. First, I want to thank our sponsors who help make Compass Coffee Talk possible. And that's Genius Food, which is a probiotic bread, a gut-loving bread, delivers a lot of benefits. Look for them at Sprouts Farmers Markets stores. That's Genius Food. INFRA, the Independent Natural Food Retail Association, which represents hundreds of independent natural food retailers across the country. That's INFRA. We're very honored to have them. Also, Presence Marketing, the leading sales brokerage in the natural products channel. Also part of what Bill helps lead, and that's Naturally Boulder, which is a very strong network supporting entrepreneurship in Colorado and the Boulder region, and also Naturally San Diego. There is a Naturally network across major cities across the US helping support and educate natural products entrepreneurship. So Bill, I'd like to turn it over to you to welcome our audience and welcome Maria. And thank you again all for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. And hey, everybody, episode 23. I'm sure we look exactly the same as when we started, right, Steve?
Oh, yeah. It's like, you know, what they say about presidents, they age in office, except for the last one where we all aged.
That's right. Maria, it's so great to have you here. And, you know, we start off with a simple question. It's springtime. What are you planting? What's going on in your garden? Because you're like the ultimate gardener, it seems.
Well, I am trying something new this year.
Okay.
I'm planting chickpeas. I had been in Canada many years ago and realized that Canada grows a lot of chickpeas. And I thought, well, if Canada can grow chickpeas, then, you know, Pennsylvania probably can too. So, so that's, you know, my main new specialty crop that I'm growing. And I'm interested in experimenting with eating them green, you know, before they're dried. So, but I have a lot of things growing in my garden, and that's just one of them. That's the newest, most exciting thing.
It sounds like a chickpea edamame, the way you want to eat them green a little bit.
Yeah,
there is actually a product out there, I think, that's green. You know, green. Do they have more nutrient value when you eat them in the green stage versus letting them ripen?
I don't know, and I don't really care. I just like.
Okay. try
Just
them
curious.
a different way. Interesting, because that ties in with certainly this, plant-based protein movement we're seeing so strongly here. We're actually working with some interesting alternative protein sources. Sacha Inchi nuts is one of our clients. Another one that does the Andean lupin, which is a legume that has a 50% protein content. It's pretty crazy. The more we learn about this, the more we learn. So interesting that you're working with chickpeas. I also see them being incorporated in a lot more products, actually, on a commercial scale.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, though, I am a meat eater and I enjoy eating meat very much. So organic.
Organic. That's good.
Well, I know Bill is plant-based. I will also tell you that I look at grass-fed regenerative when I choose to be a carnivore.
So Maria, what's your current work like? How do you spend your time right now in this amazing legacy you have?
Well, as you know, we sold the company a few years ago, so I'm still doing a little bit of wrap up of that, but I'm working on a new book that I'm not ready to talk about, but it'll be published with Chelsea Green next February. So I've been focused primarily on writing and also just, enjoying my garden and my yard and working with nature.
Yeah.
How many books will this be now? You've authored quite a few, have you not?
Yeah, a few.
Any hints on what the focus will be at all?
Well, the title is called Love, Nature, Magic, and it's a little bit of, of a departure for me, but also, lots of the topics that you're familiar with that I talk about. So just not quite ready to start the conversation on that book yet, but I am spending most of my time writing and enjoying it very much.
Oh, that's excellent. I know you've spent really a lot of your career. I've seen a cookbook that you've put out. Also, you were the publisher of Organic Style magazine. We were chatting about this, laughing a little bit if it's a good or a bad thing, but I believe you were an organic lifestyle influencer before that term was really invented. But it was in a day of print publishing, right?
Right.
Through the magazines and through books. How has that transition into the digital age been a plus and or a minus in terms of communications, do you feel?
Well, I mean, I think that I'm actually a believer in the positive power of social media, in that it gives more people access to both communicate and to get information from all different sources. It takes a lot of money to be a print publisher or a television broadcaster, and social media is super easy, but it also creates a lot of noise and confusion, and people have to learn how to be their own fact checkers, their own navigators and editors, if you will. Whereas a magazine, you have a whole team of people working to kind of fact check, edit, curate. Social media is just a giant free-for-all, for better or worse.
Interesting observation. I'd like to talk a little bit about, again, the legacy of the Rodale family is so important in organic food and agriculture. Could we go back a little bit and just talk about how did your grandfather get inspired to launch this whole business that now has lasted 3+ generations?
Well, he was very much passionate about trying to solve his own health issues, and it was because he came from a family that had a lot of heart issues, and he grew up in the Lower East Side of Manhattan in a tenement building that he really wanted to explore the role of how food is grown in terms of how it would impact his health. So as soon as he could afford it, and he and his brother launched a couple of different businesses. He bought a farm, started reading, and there's a scientific term called N of one. He was the experimenter on himself and my grandmother, and that through that experimentation, he started to see improvement in his health, in the land, and publishing was a big deal at that time. Publishing was like the internet back then. Everybody wanted to be a publisher, and so he started on the side while the original business, which was an electronics business, kind of funded publishing, and it just really took off, and so that's the root of our story.
It was basically, and again, what I wanted to show is this is what inspired me to get involved in organic food and agriculture, organic plant protection. You published a fair amount of these books as guides for gardening, as well as, and it's an organic gardening and farming book. So this is from that original magazine that J.I. Rodale launched, Organic Farming and Gardening Magazine. So that's what originally took off. But also, like Prevention Magazine is so influential out there. How did that get incorporated into the mix? And everybody reads Prevention, all ages.
Well, what happened was that, because his personal interest was more health, but it was through the act of gardening and growing food, readers started complaining that he was writing too much about health. And they just wanted to know, like, how do you grow bigger tomatoes, and how do you get your bugs off?
We had to do a stock split.
So that's what kind of encouraged him to create just a health magazine called Prevention. And interestingly, Prevention was profitable from day one, because as you know, people are always concerned about their own health. But organic gardening through the years, while it was so influential, was never really a hugely profitable business. So
it was highly influential, however. Right. I understand it. Interesting, because Prevention, if I remember correctly, was kind of almost like in a Reader's Digest style format.
Yeah, my
people
grandfather
even remember Reader's Digest.
My grandfather was obsessed with Reader's Digest, and so it was. Prevention was a health digest.
Yeah.
So that really helped. In my perspective, that also really helped create it was a real pillar of the modern organic and health food movement. And then your father, Robert Rodale, when he came into the business, and then unfortunately he passed away in an accident in Russia, trying to bring these concepts to Russian food and agriculture in the early 90s, when things were opening up, which was really an important and adventurous and good thing to do, if you ask me. But Robert then took J.I.'s concepts into a regenerative direction. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So, when my grandfather was alive, he got a lot of pushback, from the medical and scientific establishment, saying, organic isn't viable. It'll never be as, can't feed the world. It's not as productive. And they called him a quack because he didn't have any research behind him. So my father, when he took over, decided, okay, we need to do a scientific study that, we can all learn from. And that's when he started the farming systems trial out at the Rodale Institute, which is still going on today, and which has been kind of the driver of the whole organic industry, because it showed that over time, organic is much more productive than conventional agriculture, especially in droughts and floods. And the reason for that is you're building the soil can hold on to the water, and what we then learned was that what is holding all that soil is the mycorrhizal fungi and living organisms that store carbon. So what my father realized after watching the farming systems trial, because originally it was called the transition study, like how long does it take to transition a chemical destroyed farmland to organic? And after 5 years, it's like, okay, we've transitioned. But what he noticed is that it wasn't just a transition, it was a healing that happened to the soil. And that healing of the soil and the whole environment and the vitality of the plants and the life around it is what created the idea for regeneration for him. He realized, like, we're not just growing food, we're regenerating the soil and we're regenerating the environment, and therefore we're also regenerating human health. And that was the root of the regenerative organic ag movement, which honestly, kind of like disappeared from view for decades after my father died.
Right.
And only, in the last few years has it become something people are talking about, which is both mysterious and wonderful.
Well, and I that's an indication of folks that are forward thinking and ahead of their time.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's also taken on this meaning, and you brought it up, which I think is really important. How long has that field trial been going on now?
40 years.
All right, so it was supposed to be just a transitional thing for a couple of years. It's been a consistent, ongoing study of organic agriculture for 40 years. That's a huge contribution to the science of organic that the Rodale Institute has made.
And what's exciting now is that we started a vegetable systems trial, which is actually doing the opposite thing, where we start with organic soil as the base and then observe and document the destruction to the soil that happens when you add chemicals to it, and side by side. So one.
Are you also studying nutritional content of the vegetables?
We are. Yes, we are. And those results are still very early, but the shocking thing is how quickly the soil degrades when you apply chemicals to it. That's like a very.
Well, we're only beginning to learn now about the value of that mycorrhizal system you're speaking of, and I'm sure these chemicals don't help create a healthy living system in our soil. That's a communications network as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, we have a question that came in from one of our viewers. She says she realizes the meaning of organic has changed over the years, but she's curious as to the current standards are, what the current standards are, and should a consumer simply trust products they say are certified organic today? Where's your sort of level of confidence on the certified organic, I guess, is really the question here.
So this is a constant question that people always have, how can I trust it? And, my answer is, well, you can trust it a hell of a lot more than you can trust something that's not labeled organic. Mm-hmm. And, I'm not going to get into the details of, what's perfect or what's, if somebody's cheating or not, but you can guarantee that if it's not labeled organic, something is not perfect and it's probably contaminated. So, that's, to me, I always choose the certified organic products when I, when
Absolutely.
I can.
Absolutely. And I always say, hey, you have to believe in something. I'm going to try to believe in that one, right?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, another question came in about whether or not you're receiving the support you need at Rodale to continue the ongoing efforts of educating farmers and doing the field experiments. What's your sort of answer to that placement there about support?
Well, I mean, we can always use more support, but I will say, when the pandemic came and there was that question of like, should we scale back or should we push forward? We decided to push forward, and it's been like so phenomenal to see the support. And one of the most important areas of the Institute is our farmer consulting program. So any farmer can call and say, okay, I've got this problem, what do I do? How do I do it? And we've been able to help people transition improve. And so, I mean, we could always use more support, but I will say the Institute is in a very healthy place right now.
Nice. Really nice. Sorry, I cut you off earlier. You were going to carry on a little bit more about organic and certification there. I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. So what were
Well,
you
I mean, I
thinking?
think one of the things that, I've seen over my decades in this world is the confusion that consumers have and customers have. And a lot of times that confusion is deliberately created to kind of make people shut down. So, just say like, trust the organic label or grow it yourself.
Yourself.
I would agree. I think that a lot of these questions that come up, are the result of a successful counter public relations campaign by the pro-chemical agriculture industry. But, there certainly are studies, the Organic Center compiled secondary research studies on nutrient density comparisons, what you're finding about how fast the soil is impacted is very interesting to me. I think, our friend, Dr. Felicia Dawson, a medical doctor down in the Atlanta area, who's a big supporter, and we as well of her. She says it's not the cow, it's the how. We do believe that in regenerative systems, livestock can play an important role because they also help in improving soils, and particularly in grasslands.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've really come to now that I've been able to step back a little bit from the day-to-day business of it, and especially back from, the health industry, which is always kind of, like, eat this, not that, or, whatever the latest fads are, is that, the important thing to me about organic isn't even about our individual health and what we put in our mouth. It's about what we're doing to our whole environment. So, when you stop using chemicals, the water is cleaner, the whole production cycle is cleaner, the air is cleaner, more carbon is stored. So it's beyond just your own personal health. It's the health of the community. It's the health of the people who are working, it's the health of the ocean, because all that water goes out into the ocean and impacts coral reefs, the seafood we eat. So it's the most simple, important thing that we can do to improve everything.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on healthcare providers and education related to them? Dr. Dawson has asked the question here about, getting them more on board with organic eating and how it's connected to health.
I think, the healthcare system is a whole different, the healthcare system is a lot like the agricultural system. There's so much vested interest in, drugs, chemicals, treating sickness rather than just keeping people healthy. Now, I will say I am 100% vaxxed. I have my second booster. I believe in medicine, and, and I'm grateful to pharmaceuticals when you need them. But I think there's a ton of opportunity to kind of just rethink and rebuild and create a whole new system of health and environmental well-being that's connected. But that takes courage, and it takes, kind of people stepping up and doing it.
As my friend Franny Tacey would say, farm over pharma.
or
I like when people say,
expensive.
yeah, if organic
Try
is expensive, right? You got it.
Try healthcare. Yeah.
But I don't know. I do believe maybe it's a message that certainly the health food industry has been trying to relate, the relationship between diet and health. What you're pointing out is the relationship between the way we produce our food and everything, the health of our communities. I mean, when you don't use chemicals, you're putting less carcinogens out into the environment, and the cancer rates in America are just out of hand. You're improving the water, as you say. I think you're improving child development, because children raised near fields where there's heavy application of pesticides, there is correlation toward a higher incidence of autism, other developmental conditions. So the connection to the way we produce our food, Maria, is what's reverberating here for me with everything in our world.
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of research too on the endocrine disruptors and hormone disruptors that, are changing, changing genders, changing, sort of sterility rates, both in humans and in amphibians. And so, I mean, we've been messing with ourselves way too long. And a lot of that stuff just isn't even necessary. You don't need it, so just stop.
You're working on a book. You're looking to continue to drive change. How else can we all work together to drive change against, as you mentioned, like, big pharma against kind of natural medicine? We've got big ag against organic or looking to dilute it. We're seeing this play out, big Russia battering little Ukraine. How do we make change?
Well, I think we have to, what I always like to say is start where you are. Like none of us can solve all the world's problems. So like start, where you are and what you have around you. And I also think that getting overwhelmed with data or research isn't helpful either. So, just start, first of all, just be kind. Be kind to people who are different than you. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to nature. Be kind to, your community. Embrace diversity. Don't fear it. In fact, that's one of the key findings of the farming systems trial, is that the healthier the soil, the more diversity of life there is in it. And so I think we need to look to nature as our model and as our teacher and not fight it. Like so much of our energy is like fight this and anti this and like that's evil. What if there's no evil? What if there's just crazy humans trying to like figure things out, and nature who's like been trying to tell us what to do? It's like the answer is right there, but we ignore it because we think nature is less than us.
We think we know better, and
that's right.
We've had to survive against nature in our primal evolution, and it's carried forward.
Right.
Yeah. Jeff Krinsky, a good friend and colleague, a longtime sales veteran in natural products, says, have you considered offering curriculum to high schools and colleges to nurture a new breed of organic consumers? Also allow teachers or professors to educate students on the benefits of going organic.
I know that the Institute is working on things like that, but could always use more help and guidance and funding for that specifically. So that's a great kind of suggestion for the Rodale Institute.
It is a really good question, because I know from personal experience, a pesticide company, it's not in existence anymore. I think it's part of some larger, there are only 3 now, really.
Yeah.
But it was, they paid for my scholarship for my master's degree. And I think if the organic industry could afford more of that.
There's also other really great groups that are focusing on that as well. So Big Green is one, which, Kimball Musk works on, Edible Schoolyard with Alice Waters, and then Stephen Ritz out of New York. There's great people doing great things, and we should support them as much as possible.
Agree.
Excellent. Bill, you have any other questions for Maria? We're coming toward the end of this month's session, and we're so grateful to have you, Maria, with us. I'm wondering if there's anything on your mind that you'd like to share that we haven't covered. Something you'd like to bring up, and we're looking forward.
Hello, Bill Hoops. Who I haven't seen since high school.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
See, there's a power in the connections, actually, like you say, some of the good things about social media.
Right.
There are connections that can definitely be made. Your family has given us such a legacy, and Maria, you've contributed so greatly to that. I think you've touched on this as be kind, but what legacy going forward can we carry forward together as an organic community?
I think the thing that's most important is to really open our hearts to work together with each other and with nature, and not demonize. There's so much demonizing that goes on. Like whether it's the vegetarians and the vegans against the meat eaters, or the plant-based eaters against the non, it's like, it's what you eat is personal, and what you need to be healthy is personal. Like, let's work together to embrace our differences and focus on what makes nature happy, because if nature is happy, then we'll be happy.
Nice. Really nice.
This is a really important week. We have Earth Week Earth Day on Friday. Something to remind us every day of this message we've been talking about today, Maria. So thank you. And also, it's an important plant medicine day, 420. So happy 420, everyone. And I want to thank our incredible attendees. I'm seeing people who have been really loyal attendees to us, and we really appreciate your support of Compass Coffee Talk. We're so honored by our incredible lineup of guests. Next month, we actually are featuring a gentleman who is now not only advancing a lot of this message of organic and regenerative, but also taking us into hemp, taking us into the therapeutic potential of psychedelics. And that's David Bronner on May 18. In June, we're featuring Mark Retzloff, co-founder of Horizon Organic Dairy, Alfalfa's Markets, and a mentor to so many in the natural and organic products industry. We have John Foraker with Annie's and Once Upon a Farm. He works with the actor Jennifer Garner and Once Upon a Farm. He'll be in September. So again, we're very grateful for your support, excited at our upcoming guests. Maria, this will also be available on recording on YouTube at Compass Natural. Maria, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure.
And I wanted to share one more audio visual because, we have interviewed you before. I was actually, when Bill and I first became friends, I was the publisher of a magazine called Lohas Journal. And that stands for Lifestyles of Health and Sustainability. It's not published anymore, but you graced our cover in May, June 2001, when you were chair of Rodale Press.
Right.
So again, I want to acknowledge your leadership.
My hair was different back then.
Well, we're all going in one direction on the timeline. But this connection, again, you've had such a connection in my life and my career in organic, and I just want to express personally how grateful I am for that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. You have a
It's an
great
honor.
week. We'll see you next month. Bye.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.